ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about Wagerwire. Wagerwire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at Wagerwire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search Wagerwire and download the...
Sports betting isn't a gut call. It's a market with prices that move. Wagerbird shows you what to bet, when to bet it, and how the line is changing live. Every pick is time-stamped. Every result is tracked. Start betting like an analyst with Wagerbird.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and welcome to our Tuesday, August 11th Breakfast Bankroll. Good friend and colleague, Mr. Andrew McInnis, live. I'm from Cape Cod, 82 degrees, pretty warm, humid, as we get that heat wave the hell out of here. Oh, it's been swampy here of late. But hey, who's complaining, right? We're through the dog days of summer. The first official week of NFL preseason kicks off on Thursday. We've had the Hall of Fame game. Baseball heating up. Today's headline, can the Red Sox cease 3-game losing streak at JAYS? And Andrew's going to be excited. You caught the Red Sox at the right time. Today's supposed to be the Adley Rushman debut for the Red Sox. We'll see how that goes. But first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's Wagerwire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. And Wagerbird.com. CEO Blaine Davis will be live here tomorrow, 10:05. Set the dial as he brings the financial, the New York Stock Exchange, Wall Street to the sports investing and wagering platform here. Any questions, comments you have for Blaine, send an email to info@wagerbird.com. So without further ado, with his Jays hat on as always, Mr. Andrew McInnis. What's up, Andrew?
I'm not going to lie, Jeff. I didn't see this coming. I didn't see it coming on the show today after a win from the Blue Jays yesterday. And I can't rub it into you because the season you guys are having, there's no chance I'm going to come in here with any attitude. But saw a tweet today from ESPN. The Jays over 10 wins this season with 2 or fewer runs scored. I mean, this team, they amaze me. I mean, this offense can still not find itself and find ways to win is what shocks me the most. And then when the offense finds itself, the pitching lets him down. Like, I always am amazed by how baseball works. You have to have memory of a goldfish, like Ted Lasso would say, because to that game they played on Sunday, what a battle. You're down 5-2. You tie it up 5-5. You know, Lucas has that unbelievable throw to the plate from the outfield, and you lose in extra innings. And, you know, in NHL and in NBA and other sports, we call stuff letdown spots. You know, you're coming off a really upsetting loss. No, they come back and they go back home to the Rogers Center and they get the job done. The only thing that's stopping this team right now is the injury report, because every day someone new gets injured, it seems.
Well, the next man up, you know, timing in life and sports, so pivotal. Is, you know, we're getting to around that 40, 42, 43 game mark in baseball. That's all that's left. And the fact that the Red Sox had won 9 straight series, they win the first game against Oakland on Friday. They had won 9 games in a row to boot. They lose on Saturday, and as you know, as we always preach about this, after a long winning streak and you lose, you usually lose the next one. And sure enough, the Sox lose on Sunday. They pack their bags and they head to the Rogers Center. When you go on a 27-3 run, there's a word called regression. And, you know, I got people reaching out to me yesterday from all over the country. What's wrong with your Red Sox here? And the run that they have had to try to explain to them in a very nice way, guys, it doesn't matter if you were playing the bad news Bears. They were sweeping first place teams, whether it was the Yankees, the Rays, the Dodgers, the White Sox. It doesn't matter who you put in front of them. Sooner or later, especially in baseball, Andrew, you're going to start to lose. And tonight, you got Cy Season fighting on the hill, fighting for the Cy Young with Cam Schittler. And you guys are almost a $1.50 favorite.
And I just pray the offense will find something. I pray. I've seen this too many times with Blue Jays aces where they'll go out there and pitch a gem through 6 innings and the offense has put up 1 run for them. So I just have to pray that they find the offense. But you're spot on about the Red Sox. You've talked about it with me in the past. I mean, when you win that many games in a row, and I said to you a couple days ago through text, Jeff, it feels like I should be betting on the Red Sox every game. But what happens is if you feel like you've missed the boat, you almost just don't want to hop on anymore. And, you know, luckily, it started to fall off a little bit, so I didn't feel as mad at myself, you know. And I remember you and I talking about this during NHL season, right? There's some teams that are going over the total in every game, or they're winning every game at home, or they're winning every game on the road. And then eventually you're like, should I jump on? Should I? And that's kind of what we saw there. But you know, obviously we always talk about, you know, a lot of these prices are built around starting pitching. And some people say you can make money off, you know, going against that because the price is just built with that. But I mean, Cease has just been so dominant, Jeff. How would you approach this game?
Well, there's only one way to approach it, honestly, and I'll go here first. Let me just get a feel for Cease and your Jays in the first 5 on the money line are where are we here? Come on, guys, work. You're minus 180, so obviously you can't go into that. So what I like to do, like last night, we had the Arizona first 5 minus the hook. They were minus 130, minus the hook first 5. Thank you, Arenado. Grand slam, 4-0 to start, 7-0 first 5. And the funny thing is, for the full game, they were only plus 100. So I smelt something there. So we got that in here. So you're minus 180 versus Sandoval, and the Red Sox are plus 155. I'll dive into the spread here, and you're minus 20 cents at the Circa, 30 cents online. So if you like the Jays today and you like the edge that you have in the pitching matchup, obviously the play for me would be Jays first 5 minus the hook, minus the 20 cents.
And you know what I think is funny, and great call by you, by the way, with that play yesterday. You know, I was a bit kind of torn off by recency just because, you know, the Rockies have actually been hitting the ball a little bit recently. And, you know, the pitching matchup was great. I stay off it. See you send that play over to me, and I'm like, here we go. And then they just easy win there. But, yeah, I think that when you look at stuff like that, you know, one thing you've taught me is people get kind of afraid to bet into a price like that because it's not, you know, the plus 120, the plus 115, right? But it's like that for a reason. Like, I remember that we've talked about some of these first half spread numbers, whether it be in basketball or college football or whatever it might be, you know, where it almost seems kind of fishy. Like, hey, why is this first half number 23.5, but the full game number is 40 or whatever it might be, you know? And you're asking yourself, like, okay, why is this number how? And you said last night about the difference in the first 5 for your game versus the full game, and I think it's true. And the funny thing is, the bullpen recently for the Blue Jays hasn't been too bad. They were pretty taxed going into yesterday's game because they had to use a lot of guys going into or in that extra innings game they had. But I feel like that's just the way to go when Cease is on the mound. And one thing I've looked at as well is that hits allowed prop that you can take a look at, because or if you're fading a pitcher, sometimes like I've been looking at, and I want to start actually releasing it as a premium play, because when you look at it, like sometimes you could have a guy give up a ton of hits, and nothing bothers you more, Jeff, than when a team is just stranding runners on base, right? Like they're getting to a pitcher that you wanted to fade, but they're just not bringing those runners in. Well, I think the opposite can be said with this game, where all you want to do is go towards the C side, go over to the pitching props, and just say, hey, look, let's look at what the hits allowed prop is. And for Dylan Cease, you can get 4 or fewer at -1. What is it? 48. 3 or fewer at +140. So those are kind of interesting as well. And he doesn't walk a lot of people either. So you can go over to walks allowed. And I find, the funny thing is, again, walks allowed head to head. Dylan Cease, what do you think the price is over Sandoval? -120. Like, to me, that's kind of, when I look at my numbers right now, and I was going through all my spreadsheets this morning, Dylan Cease isn't putting a lot of guys on base.
How about if I told you this one? First 5 minus the hook. Cease and the Jays are -120, -130 in some spots online. If I told you the Jays full game minus a run and a half, you know what they are?
Probably a lot more appealing.
+150.
Yeah, that tells you all you have to know, right? That tells you all you have to know. And how many people are going to want to play the full game just because the price is better?
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah.
So again, like last night, when you keep peeling the onion back and the layers back, anyone watching and listening want a part of Dylan Cease today and the Jays, and you don't want to lay the run line. That's what they do, is they'll run right to I'll just take the full game, and then they see they're getting +50, and they're like, holy shit, how am I going to spend this money? And very quietly, again, a lot of teams to jump, but you are 6-4 the last 10. You're still 6 games under 500. But hey, there is some hope. You're only 3.5 games back in that third wild card.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I was pretty heartbroken to see that loss on Sunday. It was just such an exciting game. I thought they were out of it. They were down 5-2. Like I said, they tie it up, go to extras, couple different chances to win it. And like I said, hats off to them, because to come back the next day and put up a performance like that yesterday is pretty good to see. Hats off to the pitching staff. And what's funny is there's, what you said, 3.5 games back, still 4 teams between them and the Rangers. But I mean, when you labeled it out, how many games there are left, let's look at the schedule. I mean, they're next, I think, 18 games, all against divisional opponents as well. So it doesn't get easier, but it's kind of like, all right, guys, if you can do this, you're going to pull it off. Red Sox, Rays, Yankees twice over the next month, Jeff. The schedule makers are saying, all right, guys, if you're going to do it, this is probably the time to do it right now. And that's the thing. I like how the MLB schedule is designed. They set it up, start of the season, end of the season. They're going to hit you with the divisional teams. They're not going to have you playing, the LA Angels, September 15th. They want you playing the Yankees. They want you playing the Sox. They want you playing the Rays closer to the end of the year.
Switch over to CFL. We're here on Tuesdays. We're on Andrew's channel, of course, on Fridays. If you guys are not following Andrew, shame on you. To go to Wager Talk, at Wager Talk. Of course, you go on X to McInnis Picks. I've been beating this drum for a while in regards to, hey, Montreal is the best team in the CFL. There's absolutely zero debate there. And I had said again last week, Saskatchewan is the second best. And I know Edmonton had the same record leading up into last week's game where Saskatchewan not only wins, they cover, they almost put up a 50 burger. Oh, they just scored again, by the way. Uh, uh, but my point is, Montreal is the elite. The second team, the defending champs, is Saskatchewan, and then below them is Edmonton, and then the rest is a crapshoot. Toronto 4-4, Winnipeg 4-4, and then here come the Stampeders 4-5, Ticats 3-6, Lions 3-5, Red Blacks 0-8. If you haven't somehow, some way, get some Montreal in your portfolio, buy the low on Saskatchewan, and let this middle of the season kind of play out here, Andrew.
Yeah, that's the thing that's tough with the CFL is, obviously it's not that many teams, but you couldn't be more spot on about Montreal. And obviously you warned me about Ottawa. Many people warned me about Ottawa, but I actually feel like I think I might sound crazy and stubborn for saying this. I think I might regret the Edmonton play more than the Ottawa one, just because I hyped up Montreal as number one in the power rankings, as did you. I talked about Edmonton being overhyped, and I fell victim to wanting the points. And that was part of my handicap, saying, hey, but home field, you should be accounting for a little bit of a couple points anyway, and Edmonton probably not on the same level as Montreal. And the funny thing is, my gut, when that one opened up, my gut was the over in that game. And as the week went on, I wanted a side in that one, and I picked Edmonton. So obviously a wrong side there. But the funny thing is the offense didn't even look terrible for Edmonton. Some were saying that they didn't use Rankin enough. And what I'm starting to realize is that Rankin against a team like Montreal or even a high-flying team, they're almost abandoning the run, which, you know how me and you will say, Jeff, sometimes, like, the run doesn't always mean low scoring. Like the run, like we've seen Rankin explode for drives, right? Explode for runs. You don't need to abandon him just because you're down. And I feel like Montreal, when they got the lead, they almost forced them to not go to Rankin anymore. I want to bring up one team as far as the future is concerned here. You talk about looking at Sask or looking at some teams in the West. Well, I guess there's two teams. Toronto in the East, and over there in the West, you've got BC at 12-1, and Winnipeg is 25-1. Now, every year we say this together, and I understand a lot of times it's the chalk that ends up kind of at the high point, but there's a very strong chance that we could have a team from the West cross over into the East with how the playoff format works out. And there is actually a real chance that we could have in the East, we could have, a guy like Nathan Rourke playing against a guy like Chad Kelly. Or we could have a guy like Zach Collaros, and he's definitely on the back nine of his career, sitting at 25-1, hop over into the East, and he ends up playing in the East bracket and, finds himself in the Eastern Conference Finals, against Davis Alexander. Because let's be real here. I was really looking forward to seeing what Hamilton would look like this year, Jeff. I mean, this team has a ton of potential. I'm disappointed this summer, and this is just from a fan of the game perspective. I'm disappointed we didn't get to watch a good Hamilton team this year. That quarterback this past week, he played all right. He got us the cover. He got us the point. I needed that one. I needed that one. But I feel like whichever Western team comes over from the West, because they have more teams, if that ends up being what happens, depending on records in the East, I think that team could be live. I want your thoughts on that, because you look at Hamilton right now, And you look at Ottawa, right? We got 40-1 and, like 200-1, whatever it might be here. I mean, one of those teams is transferring over to the East most likely. And I know there's not really a strong track record of those teams performing well in the East bracket, but it is kind of an interesting format move and maybe something worth mentioning.
We've been doing these shows for years, and I've had a great run on the Dogs on the Grey Cup. I had Saskatchewan last year. We're on a great Grey Cup championship. You know me, build that resume. Make sure you got outs. And I will just say this on August 11th at 9:55 a.m. I have never been more adamant in the CFL where building that portfolio to me this year, there is two dominant teams, is Montreal and Saskatchewan. You're going to see Saskatchewan go on this run. They're 6-2 now. They're just getting their sea legs. Okay. We saw the Elks come out guns a-blazing. Hats off to them. Now 6-3. What happened this past weekend? It wasn't their offense. It was, here comes that leaky defense. Okay? Calgary can't stop a nosebleed. They can score with the best of them. I thought you were going to actually go to, Toronto and Winnipeg. One of these teams is going to wake up and finally say, hey, guys, this is usually where we make our run. But I think there's such a drop-off this year that it doesn't matter at this point. And again, so much can happen. Injuries can happen. I get all that. But what my eyes have seen is it's Montreal by a mile. Here comes Saskatchewan. And I know my Elks have a 6-3 record. I get it. But I can kind of see in Biff's Almanac where the Elks season kind of sort of looks like it's going.
I get it. It's almost like it's like a sign of improvement and a sign of, things are going in the right direction. It's not a sign they're winning the Grey Cup this year. That's kind of the sign that it's going here. So I agree with you on that. I just think it's tough for us to be like, hey, let's all get together and go take a plus 175 future that's going to happen in November, or October. I feel like that's what's tough, is to look at it like that.
But Andrew, you said the magic word, plus.
Yeah.
Plus. You might as well get the plus into the resume, the portfolio, before it's too late.
Before it's a minus, right?
Yes.
Before it's a minus.
Like the Dodgers, minus 110 to win the National League pennant.
That is true, because you and I are probably going to be sitting here when I'm wearing sweaters like this every day because it's cold again on the East Coast in a couple months. And I'll notice yesterday I went to the beach after I played volleyball, Jeff. It started to get dark early again, which I don't like already. Where is summer going? It's August 11th. And you're right, because it's going to be a minus number. So you're right. I appreciate the pushback on that, because you're right. And at the end of the day, because of the East is a cakewalk, Hamilton's not beating them. Toronto. So the only other team I was going to mention besides, I wanted to bring up that crossover just in case the viewers aren't aware of that. But you look at the game for this week with Toronto and Edmonton, right? I mean, Edmonton, if they continue to fall, and that game is going to be super interesting. I'm going to put it out there right now. I know you're going to ask me later for some picks for today. That Toronto one's intriguing for me. That's look. You've taught me a lot, and I went against something that you taught me last week with that minus 3.5. This is one I think is a bit different. Opened up plus 3.5, minus 105. Steam's pushing this 115, 120. I like the Argos here, but if you like the Argos, again, I think you like the 820. You plus 820. Because if I'm wrong, and we don't see a Nate Rourke or a Zach Collaros Winnipeg team, because that's how it works, right? Like, there could be a Western team in the Eastern Divisional Finals with how that crossover works, right? But if that's not the case, it's going to be Toronto. And I called this last year. We've called it the year before that before. And it's all, you talk about building the portfolio. You get plus 175 in your pocket for Montreal. You get plus 820 in your pocket for Toronto. Both of those teams are likely to be there at the Eastern Finals. So you're either going to get the plus 175 going to the Grey Cup, and they're going to be favored, or regardless, you're going to have the plus 820 Argonauts. And I feel like the Argos are just always that team that is not the best. They're just the second best in the East. Like the Hamilton heyday, it was Hamilton and then Montreal. And you even got a couple teams that have like always tried to show some signs of life. And as far as that West crossover is concerned, and then Toronto will be like plus 3.5 underdogs, and they'll win in the Eastern Division Finals and go to, like, Chad Kelly has 2 Grey Cup rings. He's only played in one of them, I think, but he has 2 rings at plus 820. Like, because look at the East right now. Hamilton stinks. Ottawa stinks. You know, Montreal's dominant. You look at Toronto, 8 plus 820. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong here. Are they telling us that one of these teams like BC is going to be there in the Eastern Finals? Or is Toronto not a good spot to look at? Because plus 820, if this team finds even a bit of defense, their offense is humming just as good as anybody. And one thing, last thing, I'll finish my rant with this. The CFL is a weird season. I know the NFL starts in September and it goes till February, so it gets cold as well. But the CFL is different because it'll be, 75, 80 degrees the start of the season, and then there could be snow on the ground in the end of the season. That impacts teams that have guys like Davis Alexander and Tyson Philpott and those guys that just sling the ball. You never hear about Montreal's breakout running backs. You hear about their unbelievable throws. So that can make a difference as well. If we end up getting Snowmageddon or a crappy wind or a bad weather game, that could be a factor as well. Plus 820. What do you think about the Argos? Do we wait for a better number, or is this as good as it's going to get?
Well, I mean, by default, and due to the Hamilton injuries in the division, we know it's not going to be Ottawa. So unless Tiger, the Ticats get a miracle, it's not going to be them. So now I look into the West. Which Edmonton team is it going to be? Are we going to be saying here, 6 weeks from now, let me see, they're 7-7 all of a sudden. They've lost 4 of the last 5. Our mind, or how I'm wired, the expectations is either Winnipeg or Toronto's finally going to wake up. One of those two teams, that's how just it is. The Stampeders have scored 352 points this year. Well, yeah. They've allowed 297, almost 300. Okay, so we kind of get that roll the ball out, first one to 40 is kind of getting stale and old. We know how they're going to end. I'll just go on record this year. The one team that I will hold out a little hope that might wake up finally, if it's not Toronto or Winnipeg, is BC. That's the team I keep an eye on.
Yes, and the only thing is, as much as I've faded them last week because Rourke came back, did you know that game closed at minus 9.5, Jeff? You know it wasn't a great week for me, but I gave out plus 7.5 when I woke up that day because I was like, okay, I wanted the hook. Felt good about it. I got the hook. Then I checked my phone close to game time, and it's 9.5. So you know how the books are going to overreact to a all-star player coming back, but it's not about the spread. It's about winning. Just about win for these teams, and I agree with you. I think they're going to pick things up, and the funny thing is, no BC fan is happy right now because even that win that they had was kind of gross, but a win is still a win. They shouldn't care how they won the game, right?
No, exactly. And I think most people think Edmonton's going to fall back. Calgary is who they are right now. So it all depends on Winnipeg. Are we going to get, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, Winnipeg's finally going to re-wake up and this is the Winnipeg team. The same thing for Toronto. It's like our expectations are, hey, guys, we're halfway through the season here. Are you guys going to ever wake up? Because you know this, come Labor Day, the NFL and college football now moves to the front and center. And you and I will be talking 6 minutes about the CFL. Oh, Jeff, don't forget I got a CFL play. Meanwhile, we're talking playoff baseball and NFL and college football. Oh, by the way, September 29th, who do you like, the Bruins or the Rangers?
Yeah, well, that's when it's supposed to get fun, right? Like that's when the CFL is supposed to get fun, where we're talking NFL props, sides, totals, whatever it might be. The bailout special on Sunday night. Oh yeah, NFL or CFL playoffs go off this afternoon. Like one of my favorite days of the calendar year is when we've got college basketball on during the day. We've got NFL on during the day. Oh yeah, college or CFL football playoffs on during the day. And then we've got a primetime NFL game on at 8 p.m. at night. I mean, that Sunday, I might as well order 4 large pizzas right now for the room, invite some friends over and have a good time because that's what we're going to get. And it's funny. I was talking with a friend yesterday and we were, just talking about, trying to enjoy summer while you can. You're getting older. You want to see friends when you can. And we're like, man, if it wasn't for hockey and football, I don't know how anybody could let summer get away. And like, at least we're sports fans. At least we have stuff to look forward to. Like my friend is a diehard NFL fan. And he was just like, if it wasn't for NFL, I don't know what I would do as far as the summer ending, but that's what we get treated to. And for the CFL, the big thing that we'll notice is the lines won't shift as much. People are still aware of it. The game has grown. Since you and I have been working together, the CFL game has grown a lot. And a lot because of sports betting. Let's call a spade a spade. A lot because of sports betting. But the line is just aren't going to move as much. If you see a -3.5 come out on Tuesday, it's probably going to be still there on Saturday. And then there's going to be, do you remember last year it was just a lot of game day movement? We're almost starting to see that now. Like last weekend, as I said to you, Jeff, we saw movement only like the morning of the games and not much leading up to it each week, which is kind of nice for us because when we're giving out plays on your show or I'm giving out client plays on a Tuesday or Wednesday, you don't want them to change immediately because then nobody else can get the same plays we jumped on, right?
1,000%. 1, 2, 4 games on the docket. Anything jump out to you? I know it's only Tuesday. We will obviously be hammering them home. 3 of the 4 on your channel around 10:30 Eastern on Friday. But the Thursday game, BC at Calgary, is now 5.5 with a 63.5. And then Friday we have Ottawa against Winnipeg. Saturday, Toronto at Edmonton, and then Saturday night, Saskatchewan at Hamilton.
Well, here's one for you. You tried to warn me last week, so hopefully it doesn't go back on me this week. I'm ready to fade Ottawa. And it's not out of anger. It's not out of anger. The injury reports add up. They just fired somebody else again. They're not liking what they're seeing from their linebackers. They're tackling weak. Like, I actually can't even blame the offense as much. Like, Jake Mayer, look, last week, he threw the most untimely interception you're going to throw. Like, I felt good about my pick. I was going to text you, didn't want to jinx it. I was going to text Jeff, we're looking pretty good for 20 minutes. And then it just got worse and worse and worse. But, excuse me, I look at Winnipeg coming back and they're -6.5. And, I mean, this is an interesting game. And realistically, I think anybody could make an opinion on this one saying, oh, well, Winnipeg is overrated. Like, they haven't been good. They haven't been good. Very, very, very quietly, teams that are well rested and having players return from injury have been really good. And let's not forget what Toronto did coming off their bye week, playing their first home opener, real home opener after all that stuff went down with the World Cup. But coming off a bye week and getting Zach Collaros back, that's just a recipe for success. And I know we've been down on the Blue Bombers this season, but just with arrested Brady Oliveira, a well-oiled machine with this offense of Winnipeg, I think at -6.5, anything under a touchdown, I want to be in on Ottawa on Winnipeg. And I'm going to throw it out here. I agree with what you're saying. I've always been a Rough Riders guy. I've liked Trevor Harris. I think that I don't know if you saw yesterday. It was kind of funny actually. People were saying that Trevor Harris isn't getting enough credit this season still, and I agree. Like he doesn't get enough credit, and I'm happy you give him credit and the Rough Riders. They've got kind of a Taysom Hill special going on. I don't know if you've seen this, Jeff. They had a third string quarterback have a hat trick of touchdowns. Just a big guy. And if you get a CFL short yardage guy that just is built like kind of like what Chris Strevler was doing when he played for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Like if you get a guy that can go in there on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, or on the goal line, it's automatic. And nobody talked about him enough. But look, I still want to go through it here and just take a look at some of these numbers. 40-34, 27-22, 36-34, 28-26. Like this Rough Riders team doesn't blow out a lot of people. And I'm looking you in the eye as much as I can through a computer screen here, Jeff. Am I crazy for wanting to go against them again? And the problem is that last week I went against them, and it was Ottawa at Saskatchewan, which I still give Sask probably one of the better home fields. So that's another mistake on my end. This time you're at the Donut Box in Hamilton, formerly known as Tim Hortons Field, plus 7.5 for Hamilton, and it's only going higher at this point as we speak. So I like one favorite here for the show, but that's one Saturday night dog I might be getting behind.
Well, what I kept trying to do the last 2 or 3 weeks is trying to bring you over because the tape is getting replayed and replayed and replayed, meaning, hey, good 20 minutes, good 30 minutes. But if you're looking, they're kind of leaning on them in the third quarter, and you can start to feel the quicksand. And then the fourth quarter, it's like, honey, what do you want to watch? And my point is, again, and I'm not saying they're winning, but I would be more on, hey, if you like Hamilton, I'll take my shot in the first 30 minutes and play the first half. I don't have to worry about the third quarter. And then, thank God, I don't have to worry about the fourth quarter. I want to go back a couple weeks ago on the revenge special game. Remember when Saskatchewan went to Edmonton and Edmonton opened up 1.5 point favorites? And I'm like, guys, what the hell? That's wrong. That's wrong. And then, of course, Saskatchewan closed as 2-point favorites, and I think it landed on 2. My point here is, Andrew, is Saskatchewan 7.5. They're not just begging for money on Hamilton. They're pleading you, please, can you give us some Hamilton money? So where are my eyes going immediately? Hamilton team total under. Because I think, hey, good first half. Attaboy, great job. Way to keep the fans in the stands. And then it's just going to be Saskatchewan punching their time clock in and doing what they do best in the third and the fourth quarter.
It was 6.5, now 7.5. I'll put that out there. Yeah, but I agree with you, and I think it's a good point by you that I need to start realizing with some of these games and how they're working out is if they keep it within 3 or 4, maybe you cover the first half. But that could, and pretty much what you just described. If I end up taking Winnipeg this week, is what I'm hoping the slow bleed happens in favor of the Bombers at home, by the way, which they haven't been good at home this year. So they need a home win. BC and Calgary, that one's interesting because the last time Calgary were laying points like this, I wasn't on them, but you know me, I love when you can pull off a fade and then a back, or a back then a fade of a team in a span of 2 weeks. Last week, overreaction line of the century with the CFL with BC. And, I'm proud of myself for one thing last week. And there wasn't a lot to be proud of, but we're still doing well in the year. I still gave out an ugly dog, even after losing on an ugly dog the day before. And I feel like my old self would have been a little bit shy and gun shy and, turned away. I lost on Ottawa. I can't give out Hamilton, and I had to do it. And now BC finds themselves plus 5.5. So you're the numbers guy. And we know that Calgary puts up 1,000,000 points as much as they want. Why do the books have BC close as 7.5, then 9.5 point favorites against Hamilton last week? But now they go on the road and they're plus 5.5 against Calgary. Are people, would you say at this point, even though off the loss against Toronto, people are starting to respect Calgary?
Well, I think what the books are saying, when has BC been at their best? Low scoring games. They shut down Rankin not once but twice. And in 1917, this is Calgary at home. Spotlight game Thursday night. Doug Flutie ain't coming through that door, as I always say, but this team is scoring early and often. Can't stop a nosebleed. So I think what they're trying to say, guys, is, hey, BC, this ain't going to be a 1917 game, even though Calgary only scored 30 last week. First time in a while they haven't reached 35, 40, 45, or 50.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what the books are saying, it might be a close first half, but sooner or later, Calgary's going to keep scoring. And unfortunately, BC's not going to be able to keep up. That's how I read that.
Yeah, you need it to drag out. You need some long drives turned into field goals, long punts, and yeah, if that goes over the total, not looking good for Calgary, probably. But I do find, and again, you know how like a team can win, but people don't feel good about a team in the win. A lot of, like I said, Jeff, BC fans were ripping their own team on Twitter last week, and they won the game. Like, we're in the sports betting world here, but they weren't happy with their team because obviously they were big favorites, didn't cover, but they could have somehow lost outright against a Hamilton team that should never beat them. So I also feel like it's kind of interesting. Like I didn't back BC last week. I almost feel inclined to do it this week. We're seeing a lot of 5.5s in the CFL this year. I feel like more 5.5s than we see in an NFL type game. What do you think about that number? It's not 3.5. It's not 4.5. It's not 6.5. We're seeing 5.5s a lot, I find.
It's called the dead number. They're just throwing it out there and they're having the public, fight at it. In other words, where's the next move? Is it going to go to 6? Which, is a key number, but in the CFL, is it a key number? Is it going to go back to 5? Still a dead number. It won't go back to 4.5. And then you're getting into another key number with 4 there. So the 5.5 here, we don't know what to do with it. You guys decide.
Yeah, you push it in whatever direction you'd like, right?
Correct. I know we got a month, camps and stuff, but I always wrap it up this kind of sort of way. Pucks, props, starts, meaning anything going in the hockey world that you in the last week that we should know.
Not too much. I'm starting to see some more trade stuff heat up a little bit. Certain teams that I bet you we'll start seeing a couple more things now in the next week or two, as far as some movement. That you talked about a dead number with that plus 5.5. Been about a dead time in NHL the last 2 weeks. General managers going on vacations, coaches going on vacations, but with that early start to the preseason training camp, and you and I keep talking about that 29th of September. Training camp's going to be here in a couple weeks. Development camp is gone. Rookie camp's going to be here. I'm looking at the teams that probably will be coming to camp and realizing what they need or what they don't need. Because what happens a lot is a player will come in from junior hockey or NCAA or whatever it might be, and they steal someone's spot. And all of a sudden, this guy making $1 million a year on his rookie contract could replace some guy making $4.5 million a year. Boom, let's trade this guy. We don't need you anymore. We're going to trade you. We're going to replace you with the rookie. And all of a sudden, they start shopping these guys around. So that's my update. All I know is I'm hearing from different people I follow that there could start being some moves pop up once again in the next week or two. So look forward to that. Everybody loves Washington. There's not a guy out there in the world right now that doesn't love Washington going into this season. Very curious how this team is priced. Here's remember this. They don't have centers. Every NHL team would take a center over a winger every day of the week. They've got some of the best wingers, the best size, physicality in the league. You need centers. Centers for defense, centers for offense. You need them for everything. This team lacks that. And I think that in the marketplace, they're going to either start off hot and then be overrated, or they might even be overrated in the market right away. I want to be on more dogs this year in the NHL. And we'll see if that ends up happening this time around. It changes your winning percentage. And, how many times I took a team total or something last year on an underdog, and they end up winning 2-1. So it's like, if I take that dog, I'm just taking the money line this year.
Well, the year of the Capitals, obviously, is this the assumption that it's Ovi's last year, so we're going to write that out?
Yeah, 100%. It is. Yeah, 100%. And I think that they built a good team around him, so he's like, yeah, sure, I'll come back. Why not? You built a good team around me.
Well, we don't have to worry about the Bruins this year. How's that?
You know what? They're playing with house money, I'd say, Jeff, a little bit. They're playing with house money. They're in a weird spot though, because they're not bad. They're just not the top of the Atlantic either. They're going to give the fans a good show at home and things, but they're just not. What did we say they were for a playoffs? What do you remember what the number was I gave you? Like plus 115 or plus, I can't remember what it was.
No, it was they're
oh yeah, it was much higher than that. Had to be much higher than that.
400, something like that. They're like 100-1 for the Cup. They're like
oh yeah. I was thinking of Ottawa. Yeah, Boston is way higher. But again, they're not going to get blown out. You got Swayman, you've got some good players, you got Zadorov, you got McAvoy. I'm curious. I can't wait to be talking hockey again. I can't wait for that. Speaking of the first fives, Jeff, I got to throw two first fives at you. Rangers, first five, -0.5, -110. We're just fading a genuinely brutal pitcher right now in Johnson. And I texted you yesterday, or maybe I didn't, but I meant to. I got to be against some of these bad teams more. Like, I almost feel like in baseball, I'm targeting bad pitching, targeting bad offenses. I got to just start betting against some of these dog crap teams, and what better day to start today than when I look down the line right now. I'm looking at the Angels and I'm like, oh yeah, they have a horrible pitcher on the mound. And we're taking Texas. That's probably in a pretty good spot to do it. You're getting a pretty good price. Forget about the full game money line. We'll take the first 5 innings when it comes to that one. Astros today. Is this Astros team going to get it going a little bit? I don't even know if I like cheering for the Astros. But right now, I mean, some books don't have it, but I'm seeing projected starter. Let me know if you see the same thing here. Is it Weisenhunt? Is that who I'm looking at several different spots here for him. 6.34 FIP on the season, 5.63. Hunter Brown been pretty good, but I don't even want to worry about what he's done. I think you just look at team total for this Astros team. You just ask them to pile the runs in for you against this Giants club here. You go over to the team total spot. You can get over 4.5 at -125, or you can get plus 120 on the over 5.5 runs for the Astros.
Yeah, and they broke a streak, and they had to do it in the 9th, when in the 10th, the travel team on ESPN Sunday was 1-8 going into last night, and Astros trailed 2-1 in the 9th, tie at 2-2, win 3-2 in 10 there. Scroll has been going the whole time, Andrew. We got you working overtime here. Our apologies. At McInnis Picks, at Wager Talk, and of course, everyone knows to go to wt.buzz/AM. $5 Tuesday, but what else do you got behind the paywall?
And no problem at all, Jeff, because I'm just looking at my numbers while we talk, and I'm trying to break down the CFL with you, figure out what you like, figure out what I like going into today. So always good to chat. Yeah, I've got one play released so far in MLB action. more to come, likely, as I'm continuing to break down this pretty good size slate here. $5 Tuesdays there. You're going to get some specials inside the $5 play. So you spend the $5, you go to my page, you're going to get a $5 CFL play, a $5 MLB play. And inside those packages, you get some secret deals that we're not tweeting out to the masses. You buy the $5 play, you get some packages and some promos inside that. But NFL is almost here. May have a couple NFL preseason. We're not going to go crazy. That's for sure. Maybe a couple spots that we'll jump onto. And, of course, the NFL player props package. As you guys know, last year, 70% of my action was probably player props when it comes to NFL. We had a pretty good year, plus 17 units with NFL player props. We'll try and do that again. So CFL plus NFL props combo pack still available over at Wager Talk. But, Jeff, my message to everybody, you always tell everyone, go get some cardio, go get some sun, because as much as we talk about hockey, and man, oh man, I can't wait to be talking about it with you. It was heartbreaking yesterday, and it's not like it was drastic, but seeing the sun go down just a bit earlier than it did a couple of weeks ago, it's tough to see. So enjoy the sun, enjoy the good weather while we all can here, guys.
Absolutely. Go follow Andrew at McInnis Picks, of course, Wager Talk. Head on over to WT.buzz/AM, $5 Tuesday. Guys, think long-term. Don't be stupid here, guys. You know you're going to be playing. You're going to be watching. You're going to be listening. Treat yourself to an early birthday present, an early Christmas present. Get the long-term when you can. We're going to have, in 2+ weeks, you're going to have week 0 in college football. The following week, NFL kicks off. September 29th, hockey faces off. And next thing you know, it's October. It's pumpkin spice time, MLB playoffs and World Series. So do yourself a favor. Treat yourself today. Think about the long term, not just that instant gratification. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis of McInnis Picks, wish everyone a blessed day. Enjoy yourselves and stay tuned.